everybody. Thank you for webinar this morning. For those who are joining us for the first time, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat function. We will handle the questions at the end of the presentation this morning. We also would like to mention that we are recording this session, so for those people who are not able to join us this morning, they will find that content on our members only section of the BATM website in the next few days. Also, we will still have a few more webinars coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for more information related to those, and we hope to see you again at one of our future BATM events. Now, this morning, it's my pleasure to introduce today Sam from Fairfly. Sam, the floor is all yours. Thank you very much for your partnership and support this morning, and we're looking forward to a very insightful presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having me, Pascal and Sophie. First, I want to say bonjour and goeiemorgen to everybody. It's really my pleasure to present Fairfly and our current solutions that we're offering. First of all, I wanted to go over a quick introduction about myself. And then in just a moment, I'm going to put up some polling questions so I can learn a little bit about you. And then I'll go over a quick agenda. And then after that, of course, the main bulk of the presentation. So quick background about me. As Pascal mentioned, my name's Sam. I've worked in the travel industry for about 7, going on 8 years now. I started at a company that some of you may know, Only. So I worked there as a corporate trainer, mostly in North America, but also in APAC region and also in EMEA. And then 2 years ago, I joined Fairfly, and I've been working as a solutions consultant at Fairfly, which means that I have been building solutions for prospective customers and instructing current customers on how to best use the tools that they have today. So now that I've gone over a quick introduction about me, what I'd like to do is put up some polling questions so I can learn a little bit about you and your program to ensure that I hit relevant talking points as I go through today's presentation. So the first question I would like to put up is really discussing or really tackling the main topic of today's webinar is canceled and unused tickets. So what I'd like to know is how many canceled tickets do you believe approximately that your program has accrued since about February time? So to put in your answer, just go in and click on what you believe is most describes your situation. Also wanted to mention the answers are anonymous, so no one will know which answer you picked. All right, looks like we got almost everybody. Okay, looks like the most popular answer is about 100 to 500 tickets. That's something that I was kind of expecting. I'll share the results real quick so you can see. So yep, 100 to 500 is about the most common one. And then second, it looks like about 100. Great, thank you. My next question is polling question 2. Do you feel confident in the reports you received today on airline vouchers? So this means the tickets that were canceled. Do you feel confident in those vouchers information that you received today? Great. And then I saw couple of you had mentioned you cannot see the polling question. Are they, Pascal, are you able to see the questions? Are they appearing?
Yes, I see the questions on my screen, so that's strange.
Maybe if I scroll down, or if I do this, maybe those of you can't see can see now. Okay, so kind of some mixed answers here. I think this is something that I was expecting. So I'll share these results. So the large majority of you picked between confident and not so confident. Great, perfect. Thank you. Next question. This is just namely for me to understand what regions your program is working in. So next question is, which regions does your program have points of sale in? So is it mostly EMEA? Do you also manage maybe Americas, APAC? You can pick multiple regions here. Okay, great. Okay, looks good. So of course, everyone picked EMEA, but it looks like the second most popular region was the Americas, and then looks like about 1/3 of you also managed some APAC spend. Great to know. And then last question before I get started. And for me, this is kind of the most important question right now, is to what extent has your program resumed air travel? So I realize that in Belgium right now, there's a lockdown. So I realize that mostly Belgian travelers probably aren't able to resume travel at the moment. Maybe some of your other points of sale have started, but this will really help me gauge where we're at right now. Great. Looks like about everybody has answered this question. So I'll put up the results. I think it's not surprising. Most of us are at about 10% or less. Some of you did answer about 25%, and then some of you are at more than 50. I think this is kind of what I had expected. Okay, great. So that helps me a lot. Thank you so much. And that helps me get to know a little bit about you and your programs. So what I'd like to do now is just go over a quick agenda of the topics that I'll be hitting today. I'll start off with a little bit about Fairfly, our solutions, kind of our intersection between being in the travel industry, but also being a technology company. I'll discuss more about unused tickets, current business challenges that we're seeing today, and how our solutions, how we've used our solutions to tackle these challenges. So quick background about Fairfly. I recognize some of you in the chat. So I believe some of you may already know me or know about Fairfly. Quick background though, we're a global company that started a number of years ago, headquartered in Tel Aviv. However, we've grown at such a rate that we now have offices in London, San Francisco, and we're active in more than 90 countries. So really, we've started in the MEA region, but we've grown at such a rate that we're all around the world today. And I was really excited when Pascal and Sophie invited me to today's webinar about technology, because one of the things I love most about Fairfly is that while we are in the travel industry, we're also a technology company. And I think the most telling story about our origin as a technology company is that one of our co-founders is Uri Levine. Uri Levine is also one of the co-founders of the application Waze. So take our DNA, but we are indeed in the travel sphere. So we're data centric, we're moving fast, we're moving forward, we're very customizable, and as I mentioned, we're global. So we see travel as, you know, not something that's just in one country or one region or one point of sale, but something global. And we believe in solutions that fit this global function. So it doesn't matter if your program is mainly in Belgium or if saw in APAC or all of our solutions, our belief is that we should be able to support everything, no matter where your program operates. So to our solutions, we have 3 core products. The first one, our Fare Saver product, and I think this is our flagship one that most of you are probably familiar with. This is a price assurance tool that searches for lower fares post-booking. So we look inside and outside the ticketing window and all the way up to check-in time for lower fares. And I'll talk about in just a moment a little bit how current challenges from the pandemic have impacted these savings as well. Next one is our Insights and Supplier product. And what this takes a look at are any and all of your negotiated fare relationships with the carriers and tracks, monitors, and controls them to see, all right, you received this fare with, let's say, Lufthansa. However, we see on average with Lufthansa a lower fare. In addition, we can also track and control any and all of your policies to see if your travelers are following those policies and provide you with the analytical tools to see if you changed any of those policies, there'd be any type of cost savings. And then the last one, the one I'll focus mostly on today, disruptions. And what it takes a look at is tracking, monitoring, controlling all unused tickets, vouchers, and namely the challenges that have arisen due to canceled or disrupted flights due to the ongoing pandemic. So a little bit about the Fare Saver product, how the key essence of how this product works is that we're looking for a lower fare for the exact same experience as the original ticket. So 0 disruption to the traveler, meaning always the same airline, same itinerary, same cabin, same seat type, just simply a lower fare. And over here on the right is a visual example of what this search looks like. So we would receive, let's say, a business class window seat, and we would find a lower fare for that exact same business class window seat. In this example, 784 euros less expensive. And one of the questions I've received a lot lately is, how have the current changes in the travel industry impacted this surge and the savings that we've been finding? And really what we have found is that there's been unprecedented volatility in the prices available in airfare these days. For example, this means that, let's say you wanted to buy a ticket from Brussels to New York City. We've seen the price at 8 a.m. being 1,000 euros to at 8 p.m. going all the way up to 4,000 euros. So with that, price assurance is more relevant and important than ever before. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about our customization and kind of the logic as to how we see any and all travel solutions that we provide should work. And that's customization. So we see that with our technology that there's not just a one size fit all fit for everybody. So with that, we're very customizable, and that's how we believe we can provide the highest amount of savings for our customers. So with FareSaver, we have namely two types of filter configurations. The one on the left is our recommended one, best practice, which means that we would search for lower fares that are at the exact same flexibility type as the original. On average with this one, we find about 3.2, 3.3% savings for our customers. And then for those who are a little bit more aggressive with savings goals, we have full potential, which means that we would unlock all of the savings potential of lower fares, meaning that if the original was refundable, we may find with full potential a lower fare that's non-refundable. But again, it will always be for that exact same seat, same cabin, same airline experience. And then really just kind of one of the last pieces I wanted to touch on about the FareSaver product is one of the questions I receive a lot, and that is, Sam, how often does Fairfly check for lower fares? And the answer is that, again, with that customization that I've been mentioning, as we are a technology company, we use our algorithms to learn your program's fares and when is the optimal time to search for lower fares. So there isn't just one answer to this question. The answer is that it depends. Let's say one of your common routes was, again, that Brussels to New York route. We may find that 5 days before departure at noontime, there's a lot of volatility. So in that time, our algorithms will search, say, 100 times a minute. Meanwhile, 3 weeks before at 8 p.m., there might be less volatility and we'll only check 4 or 5 times per minute. So that's the way we utilize technology to learn and customize our solution to your program. And then just again, as a visual here, we'll check inside, outside the void window, and all the way up till the 24-hour before check-in window, and only send an alert over to the TMC or switch to a lower fare when the fare drops to a point that makes sense. So then just last piece here, this graph that you see here was something that was built before the COVID-19 pandemic of when fare volatility was happening. And again, it's just a visual representation. It isn't any specific route or specific program, but you'll see in the side of the void window, we'll see fare drops, fare rises 4 or 5 times. Now, due to the volatility in fares, we're seeing much higher and lower drops. So it may go down to here, price may go all the way up to here within a short amount of time. So this is our flagship product, FareSaver. What I'd like to do is now talk a little bit about the main topic, how we've used technology to address and tackle the challenges that have arisen due to any and all disruptions that have happened since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, before I get into all of the kind of nitty-gritty about the product and the technology, first, what I'd like to discuss is exactly what Fairfly sees is an unused ticket. So we see an unused ticket as any ticket that's available with an open status or partially refundable or fully refundable tickets that are sitting in the GDS, waiting for some type of action. May it be exchanged, may it be a voucher used for a new flight, or may it be to be refunded. And we see these as a result of both voluntary and involuntary cancellations. So one question I always kind of discuss at this time is why are unused tickets suddenly a challenge? why is this a topic that is important but hasn't been historically in the past? So I always like to answer this with some great quotes from the Business Travel News newsletter. According to BTN, many corporate travel programs will emerge from the COVID-19 crisis with millions of dollars worth of airline vouchers or refunds. So namely, we see these canceled tickets coming from March, April time. However, one of the main points I always like to tackle here is that the mechanisms for tracking and controlling those unused tickets are not as established as they are outside of the US. So I saw some of you are managing North American points of sale. So inside North America, unused tickets has been an essential part of how travel management has worked in North America for many years now. However, outside North America, this is a relatively new change in terms of the regulations and the rules that the airlines are providing with ticket types. So I have a question for you. One more polling question. At the moment, how many tickets on average do you think unused tickets account for in any given travel program? So this may not be just specifically your program, but what you may believe the averages are in the industry. You believe it's about 1%, 10, 20, 30, maybe even more? Great. See a lot of answers here. Still some answers coming in. All right, just give it a couple more seconds. Okay, great. Looks like almost everybody has answered. So I'll share the results. So looks like most of you, about 50%, selected about 10%. Second most popular answer was about 30%. And I have now the answers. So for those of you who selected 30%, you were spot on. That is exactly the number that Fairfly has seen as the average. And I think it's also interesting that, well, part of this is we took a look at all of the unused ticket percentage for our customers in July time. And we also looked at that number in 2019, July as well. So we saw in 2019 for any given travel program, unused tickets accounted for about 5%. However, this year in July, it went all the way up to about 30%. So let's say your program had about 10 million euros in spend. 5% of your program, this is definitely a considerable number, but when you compare 5% to 30%, that's a large fraction of any given program spend. So next question, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Do you believe, true or false, that unused tickets are only a problem outside of North America? And I'll launch this. So if you say true, this means that no, unused tickets, they're only a problem, let's say in EMEA, APAC. False, meaning that it's also a problem in North America. Yep. Great. I see a lot of answers. Give a couple more seconds to put in some answers. Okay, great. Looks like about everybody has voted, and I'm super happy with these votes. Most of you voted false, that they're also a problem in North America. That, as I mentioned earlier, regulations in America were always ready for unused tickets. They were always managing unused tickets. However, what we've seen is that with the sheer large amount of canceled flights that have arisen, that properly managing these funds in North America has become a challenge too, even though they already have the resources and technology built to manage them. Great. So again, as I mentioned, technology in North America has been built to handle these tickets, but what has really changed, not just for North America, but for the world at large, is the rules regarding changes and cancellations on tickets. So historically in Europe, your ticket was either refundable or not. So if you canceled and it was non-refundable, you lose that value. Now there's been changes per airline from the European Union by other governments on what exactly you can do with that value, and even new regulations on what can be done with the taxes on that ticket as well. So with that, some of the challenges we've heard due to these changes are, A, there's a lack of visibility. I know I have unused tickets. I know there's taxes on these that I don't know what's going on with. I have these reports, but I don't know where I'm sitting right now at this moment. Second, managing refunds. We've heard current customers say, we've applied for refunds, but they're not hitting the bank yet. And also, we've seen a large amount of unused tickets sitting in the GDS that are refundable that our current customers didn't have any idea about. Third, managing vouchers. So it's one that it's been communicated to us that they know they have vouchers, but they don't really have a plan to ensure that they're all used before they expire. Next one, cost control. So while we may be at 10% at travel right now, travel is definitely at one point going to come back. And we have all these tickets on file, we have all these value on file, these funds, and we need to make sure that those funds are used appropriately when travel does return. And lastly, having reliable data. So data that you feel confident in, global data, not just one market, all of your markets in one centralized, easy location. And these are the challenges that we've heard. And what we wanted to do is really see when and how, when exact challenges may be arising, when they might. And what we've done is put together a kind of timeline as to seeing when and how we'll effectively manage these challenges. So right now, we see that we're kind of in the peak of the crisis still. There's little flights. As we saw earlier, only about 10% of your programs are traveling. There's still many vouchers. But in the future, we definitely see travel is going to pick up at some point. And once travel starts to pick up, many of those vouchers will start to expire. So there'll be higher expiration on those tickets, and flights will go up. And then we'll see a time, eventually, Fairfly foresees the end of 2021, maybe early 2022. Flights are back, those vouchers will have expired, and we'll be at some type of new normalcy. So what are our main goals using technology to help address these challenges in this timeline? So right now, our main two goals are to unlock immediate value, provide full visibility into all of those refundable unused tickets. I'll talk more about that in just a moment, but finding all of those tickets that are in the GDS that are refundable or partially refundable that you could get back in cash value almost immediately. And then next one, optimize voucher utilization. So have an understanding of where all your funds are, where all your vouchers are, and the amount that's truly available to you from those vouchers. And I'll discuss that a little bit more once I jump into the platform. And then from there, manage voucher use for future. And next one, really important. And I think that for some of you, this may be something shocking, as it was definitely something surprising to me. One of the metrics that we've been tracking is off-program usage of vouchers. What this is that, let's say Pascal, he's a really trustworthy guy, but he had his ticket from Brussels to New York back in March, but the airline canceled it. And then August time, Pascal, you know, he is trustworthy, but he went under the radar and he used that voucher from a business trip for his own personal travel. I'm just kidding, Pascal didn't do that. but this is something that we have seen happen. And this is part of the metrics that we're calculating, that we're tracking, that we're measuring. And we've seen this with current and past employees. And then next one is scheduling voucher use. So it's one thing knowing how much vouchers or funds that you have available, but it's another to understand when and how much of those vouchers you need to use month per month, quarter per quarter, before those vouchers expire. And then lastly, refundability reports in real time. So one of the challenges I mentioned earlier is our current customers have told us, we applied for refunds, we see it's refunded in the ticket status, but why isn't it in the bank? Or I know that I have refundable tickets, but it's only partially refundable. So what can I get back at this time? And in large amounts too. So these are our main focuses in helping to manage these challenges that we have seen. So what I'd like to do now is jump over into, or actually before I jump into the platform, my last polling question for you. So my last polling question for you is, for one of our current customers who had about 11 million euros in spend, how much do you think that we found that was in unused tickets that was immediately refundable? So meaning they're tickets that were simply sitting in the GDS that they had no idea that were there, that they could simply refund right now. I'll give you another couple moments to put in your answers. Okay, looks like majority have answered, and super happy with your answers again. So yes, so the answer is about 200,000 euros. And that's the majority of your answers as well. What we had done is we had talked to that customer and said, do you know about unused tickets that are refundable? They said, yes, we got it completely under control. We pulled up our platform and we found 200,000 euros worth of tickets that we could refund almost immediately. And at the time, one of my coworkers said, oh, well, that's unclaimed cash. And I really like that verbiage. It's really cash that you could just claim almost immediately. So with that being said, what I'll do now is jump into the Fairfly platform and show you how everything works. So before I jump into all of the details about the platform, I want to just touch on one of my earlier points, is that we see travel as not something that's a one size fits all, but something that should be customized, that's something that should fit a global program. So whenever I'm presenting the Fairfly platform, I always like to show at the top, we can filter, slice and dice all of your data by point of sale. So it doesn't matter if you have operations in Belgium, US, Singapore, we can plug all of your data into one centralized, easy to use location. We can also filter by department. So if you wanted to look at just your research and development team, sales team, you can get as granular as you like. And then also, of course, you can timestamp your data any way you'd like to. If you'd like to look at just February time, March time, doesn't matter. You can check out your data really however you'd like. And then also one other point I'd like to highlight is that you can change your currency depending on the point of sale. So you could look in euros, pounds, dollars, whatever currencies you are using. And with all of Fairfly's platforms, it works by username and login details. So we would just send you your username, you plug in your username, and this would be the platform that would appear. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll show you all of your spend in one centralized place. What I plugged in here is just a kind of demo data of an average program that may have about $10 million in spend. So earlier we were talking about the different categories of that, where that spend may be. So just in this demo instance, on the lower end, we've seen about 10% of a total program going in the unused category. We'll also capture exchange tickets, refunded, and then of course flown. Then we'll break everything down by time frame, so by month, and I'll talk about in just a moment a little bit more capabilities here. And then by carrier, and then down towards the bottom in granular view by flight. So I mentioned earlier, one of the key challenges that we heard is that we know we have so much in refundable or partially refundable tickets. We see the refundable amounts, but what's coming back to the bank is not what we saw in our spreadsheet. So, or the taxes that were taken out of it are not what we had exactly expected. So one of the ways that we've been able to address that challenge is that we'll show here in the granular view, let's say that unused flights, this case, it's on Emirates, it's refundable. We'll take in the net refund amount into consideration though. So we'll show that the ticket was $3,000 or euros, whatever, and that the penalty to cancel or refund that ticket was 500. And then we'll calculate here in this potential refund amount, all fees associated to making that refund. So just in this easy example, we subtracted 500 from that 3,000 to see that you should be getting back 2,500. Now we can also, what we've also are doing is taking into consideration TMC transaction fee. So if the TMC charge you 10, 20 euros to make that refund, we can take that out. Some countries, taxes, they're not allowing the taxes to be refunded. So that's also a field that we can put in here and take out as well. Really, the essence of this is to know in real time where your spend sits and how much you can get back in refundable amounts. The next piece always like to go over is, and I mentioned earlier in my last polling question about that customer that had 200,000 euros in refundable tickets, is that we're constantly tracking that as well. And you can see here, we'll mention it, we've detected $100,000 or euros of refundable unused tickets. All you would need to do is click on this. It will generate a report that can be sent over to the TMC for immediate action on getting those flights refunded. Majority of our customers have downloaded that report and had all of those flights refunded within 48 hours. And then once those refunds have started, then this metric here of flight status will begin to change. And this yellow, which is refund requested, will start to grow. The next piece, though, what I like to do is filter everything that you see here by unused. So to do that, I'll just unclick flown, refunded, and exchanged. This way, you'll see just unused. And in the live version, you'll also be able to click on by expiration date. And what the true goal here, as I mentioned earlier, is creating a plan for you to know month by month how much you need to utilize in vouchers before they expire. Right now, most carriers are providing you 2 years to use those credits. However, the way things are going, that 2 years is coming up quicker than we have are expecting. And also, many of our current customers, they know they have, let's say, $1 million in vouchers, but have no concrete plan on when and how much to use month by month, week by week, quarter by quarter, to ensure that it's used before that value is simply lost forever. So what we've done is you could click on a specific carrier. In this case, we could go into Brussels Airlines, click on them, and a report will be generated to show you, okay, in April, you'll need to use 10,000 euros of Brussels Airlines vouchers to keep on track, so that you'll always know where you're sitting, making sure that everything is being used on time before it's lost forever. And then, of course, all of this information you can export to Excel or PDF so that you can share with other stakeholders, your TMC, really whoever else needs to capture this data. But it looks like I am just on time with my about 15 minutes left for questions, Q&A. So what Pascal and I and Sophie were planning was now to open up the floor for you to put in any questions in the Q&A down below.
And we did already receive one question during your presentation, Sam. So okay. Is the Fairfly FairSaver product licensed via the TMCs, or how does that work? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So depending on the TMC, we may have, or we may have it that you can contract with us and then simply plug in with your TMC. For example, we're part of the BCD Solution Source companies. So as a Solution Source partner, you could just go in there and we could easily plug in technology-wise. The resources are all set up. So really, it depends on the TMC, but we're TMC agnostic. We're open, willing to work with anybody.
Okay, perfect. Then another question came in, different city pairs, different routes, different markets, different price volatility. Do you also offer to your clients an assessment of the size of the potential benefit to be delivered in relation to their travel footprint?
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of my core function as a customer solutions expert, is that the way that would work, and I can put up the email address in just a moment, is we'll offer a free proof of concept Really, we'll just take 1 year's data, and I will take a look at our benchmarks on those exact markets, those exact routes, to see what we could have provided in terms of savings and unused tickets analysis in that time frame.
Okay. So if anyone on the call has any other questions, feel free to submit them in the chat function or in the Q&A section. There's one more that came in the Q&A section. Does Fairfly work directly with the corporate travel, or does it go via the travel agency? And anything you can add there?
Yeah, so we plug in directly with whichever travel agency that you're working with. We'll partner with them, partner with you. We also provide training to whichever TMC or travel agency that you're working with on how to properly, let's say with FareSaver, rebook to a lower fare. If it's with unused tickets, we'll show them how to exactly action any and all of our refundability or off-program use reports.
And then maybe just as a follow-up from an implementation perspective, Sam, how long does a typical implementation project last with Fairfly?
Yes, so I always like to mention here that, well, we will work with the travel agency directly and do all the heavy lifting. So it's never a big project. We take care of almost all the work. Really is just giving the TMC and us the okay to plug in. On average, we see 4 to 6 weeks implementation. But again, all that work is done between Fairfly.
Okay. And then one more question came into the chat function. Considering we buy tickets via the TMC, how do you swap the tickets to cheaper versions? How does that work?
Yes, so the way that it would work is we would connect via the GDS. So we would have all of your reservations be dropped onto a queue inside of the GDS that we would monitor. Once you would find a lower fare, we would insert that lower fare message inside of the PNR or send via an email about the lower fare that we would find. If it's within the void window, we can work with your TMC to set up automatic rebooking to the lower fare. If it's outside, we would work with a travel counselor to rebook to that lower fare.
And then through the Q&A function, the following question came in. My TMC has already a similar FareSaver product in place. How would this work if one was interested in contracting the other aspects of Fairfly, your other elements of your offering, your product offering?
Yeah, so absolutely. So if, let's say you continue to use the fare restop tool via your TMC, just contract us to use unused tickets or policy insights. It's really a no issue there. We would just need GDS access to your pseudo cities, and it's a fairly simple implementation.
Okay. We'll give it a minute or so for others to submit questions if there are any, because I think we are at the end of the questions that we have received so far. I already want to take the opportunity, Sam, to thank you very much for your presentation this morning. I think it was very insightful. And in the meantime, we just received one more. Do you integrate with non-GDS transactions, NDC, for example? How would that work?
Yes, so 2 components here. Number one, non-GDS transactions. So let's say if it's some type of passive segment, is booked directly with the carrier. We can monitor and track those for lower fares. We can also plug those into the unused tickets platform. We would just simply need to work with the TMC to ensure that the parameters about that non-GDS transaction are formatted in a way that we could pick up. Second component, NDC. So my answer to this always is we can track and search for lower fares in whatever pool that your TMC is booking. So we're NDC ready. whatever your TMC has access to book, we can tap into that same pool of fares as well.
Perfect. And I think if we don't get any other questions in the next couple of seconds, I think we can start closing our webinar this morning. I want to thank for sure everybody on the call for joining us. Highly appreciate it. Again, want to thank Fairfly and Sam for your partnership and your presentation this morning. And for obviously our BATM members, stay tuned for more webinars to come. We'll communicate in the next couple of days what is on the program for the month of December. In the meantime, stay healthy, have a great day. Thank you very much for joining us and talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.